TLC will never show you the footage of producers physically separating Matt Roloff and Chris Marek during a vicious screaming match that took place just behind the pumpkin patch barns. While the cameras were rolling for a standard filler scene, things took a dark turn that the network legal team immediately buried. According to on-set sources who witnessed the altercation, the fight wasn't about property lines or wedding drama. It was about a staggering $250,000 debt that ended with Matt delivering a chilling final warning. He looked Chris dead in the eyes and said, "You have 30 days or I take everything." But today, we are exposing the sinister truth that even Chris might not realize yet. Matt does not actually want the money. He doesn't need the cash. He is using Chris's catastrophic failure to blackmail Amy out of her final, lingering rights to the farm. This is not just business. This is the ultimate revenge plot. Before we dive into the leaked financial documents and the secret plan Matt has been cooking up for months, I need you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. We are the only ones brave enough to report the reality behind the reality show, and you do not want to miss the updates we have coming on this situation. Press that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's get into the dark side of Roloff Farms. To understand why this situation has become so toxic, we have to look at what has been happening off camera for the last 6 months. While the show has been focusing on minor family squabbles, a financial disaster has been brewing that threatens to ruin Chris Marek and, by extension, Amy. It all started with a business venture that was supposed to be Chris's way of cementing his place on the property and proving he could be just as much of an entrepreneur as Matt. Insider reports suggest that Chris approached Matt with a proposal to build a luxury glamping destination on the edge of the property, a high-end eco-tourism experience that would bring in passive income for the whole family. It sounded perfect. It was supposed to be the bridge that finally united the two men. But instead, it became a trap. Matt, playing the role of the benevolent patriarch, agreed to finance the initial construction. He positioned himself as the silent investor, cutting a check for materials, permits, and labor. But here is where the story gets murky. According to whispers from the production crew, the contractor hired to oversee the project, a man recommended by Matt's own network of contacts, suddenly walked off the job 3 months in. He didn't just quit, he vanished, leaving behind half-finished structures that are now rotting in the Oregon rain, and a mountain of unpaid invoices. Chris was left holding the bag. The project that was supposed to cost $100,000 ballooned overnight. Materials went missing. Permits were suddenly revoked due to zoning errors that should have been caught day one. And through it all, the money kept flowing out of Chris's pocket, and when that ran dry, he had to turn back to Matt. This is where the leverage began to build. Matt reportedly offered Chris a lifeline, a massive personal loan to cover the losses and keep the project afloat. We are talking about a sum rumored to be $250,000. Chris, desperate to save face and not wanting to admit to Amy that he had sunk their savings into a money pit, signed the papers. He took the money from Matt, believing he could turn it around. But what Chris didn't know, and what we are uncovering now, is that the entire project may have been doomed from the start. Theories are circulating that Matt knew the zoning for that specific parcel of land would never be approved for commercial lodging. He knew the contractor was unreliable. He let Chris walk into a financial minefield with a smile on his face. Why would Matt do this? Why would he sabotage his own ex-wife's husband? Because Matt Roloff plays the long game. He knows that as long as Chris owes him a life-altering amount of money, he owns Chris. And if he owns Chris, he has a direct line of control over Amy. The unaired fight that happened last week wasn't just a disagreement, it was the moment the trap snapped shut. Witnesses say Chris was pleading for an extension, explaining that the liquidity wasn't there. And that's when Matt's demeanor changed. The friendly, helpful Matt vanished, and the ruthless businessman emerged. He demanded full repayment, knowing full well Chris couldn't pay. This $250,000 debt is not just a number, it is a weapon. Think about the stress that puts on a marriage. Amy and Chris have been in the honeymoon phase, enjoying their life together, traveling, and living relatively stress-free. Suddenly, there is a $250,000 anvil hanging over their heads. Amy is incredibly protective of her finances, especially after the divorce settlement. She fought hard for what she has. Now, her husband is indebted to her ex-husband, the one man she wanted to be free of financially. It is humiliating. It creates tension. It creates secrets. And that is exactly what Matt wants. He wants them destabilized. He wants them desperately. The glamping structures are now just eyesores on the property, skeletons of a dream that died. Every time Amy visits the farm, she has to look at them, a physical reminder of Chris's failure and Matt's dominance. But there is a deeper layer to this setup. Sources indicate that the loan agreement Chris signed has very specific collateral clauses. Usually, when you take out a loan, you put up a car or a house. But the rumors swirling around the farm suggest that the collateral wasn't physical property owned by Chris. The language in the contract was vague, referencing future assets and spousal considerations. Matt wasn't targeting Chris's motorcycle or his real estate license earnings. Matt was targeting Amy's legacy. We have to ask ourselves, why did the contractor leave? Why did the permits fail? Matt has been navigating the zoning laws of Helveta, Oregon for 30 years. He knows every loophole, every commissioner, and every rule. The idea that he blindly invested in a project that was destined to be red-tagged by the county is laughable. He knew. He watched Chris run into a brick wall, and he didn't say a word until the check was signed. This is the definition of a setup. It's Machiavellian. It's the kind of plot you see in a scripted drama, not a reality show about a pumpkin farm. But the reality of the Roloff dynamic has always been darker than what makes the final edit. The production team is scrambling right now. They know they have a gold mine of a storyline, but they are terrified of the legal ramifications. If it can be proven that Matt knowingly defrauded Chris or set him up for failure, that's a lawsuit. But Matt is smart. He kept his hands clean. He was just the lender. He was just the guy trying to help. He can spin this as Chris being incompetent and him being the victim of a bad investment. That is the narrative Matt is already planting in the tabloids. Have you noticed the recent articles popping up? Chris Marek's business blunder, or Matt Roloff loses thousands on failed project. These aren't accidents. These are planted stories designed to control the public perception before the truth comes out. Matt is painting himself as the martyr who tried to support his ex-wife's new husband, only to be burned. But we know better. We know that Matt Roloff doesn't lose money unless he chooses to. We know that he doesn't enter a deal without an exit strategy that benefits him 10 times over. The debt is the key. As long as that debt exists, Matt has a seat at Amy and Chris's dinner table. He is the third wheel in their marriage. Every vacation they take, every purchase they make, they have to think about the fact that they owe Matt Roloff a fortune. It strips away their independence. It forces Amy to be nice to him. It forces Chris to be subservient to him. It reestablishes the hierarchy that Amy spent years trying to dismantle. And let's talk about that contractor again, the man we are calling the Ghost. We dug into some public records, and while we can't name names yet for legal reasons, there are connections between this contractor's previous LLCs and some of Matt's older development projects. It is entirely possible that this was an inside job, a paid actor in a real-life play. If that turns out to be true, if Matt actually hired someone to botch the job and run up the bill, we are looking at a level of betrayal that is unforgivable. It would mean he systematically destroyed Chris's confidence and financial standing just to get leverage. The tension on the farm is palpable. The latest filming schedule has been disrupted because Amy refuses to film scenes with Matt. She knows something is wrong. She senses the trap, but she doesn't know the full extent of it yet. She knows Chris is stressed. She knows money is tight. But she likely doesn't know that the terms of the loan give Matt the power to foreclose on things that shouldn't be touchable. Matt is counting on Chris's pride to keep Amy in the dark for as long as possible. He knows men like Chris want to fix their own messes. He knows Chris won't want to run to Amy and say, I owe your ex-husband everything. That silence is Matt's greatest ally. The setup is complete. The debt is solidified. The project is dead. Chris is cornered. The cameras missed the fight, but the audio that leaked, the words "final warning," tell us that the clock has run out. Matt is done waiting. He is ready to execute the next phase of his plan. And this is where the story shifts from a financial dispute to a war for the very soul of the farm. Because Matt doesn't want the check. He doesn't want a payment plan. He wants something that Amy possesses, something she has held on to tightly since the divorce, something that prevents Matt from having total, absolute control over the empire he built. He is about to make a move that will leave the entire family in shock. Now we have to peel back the layers of this financial disaster and look at the situation through the lens of a man who calculates every single move he makes. If you think Matt Roloff is losing sleep over $250,000, you haven't been paying attention to how he operates. To a man with his assets, his land deals, and his network contracts, $250,000 is certainly painful, but it isn't a life-ending crisis. It's a tax write-off. It's a business expense. So why is he acting like a loan shark? Why is he threatening to destroy Chris's credit and reputation over this specific debt? The answer lies in the fine print of a document signed years ago, a document that Matt has been trying to shred, metaphorically speaking, ever since the divorce was finalized. We are talking about the ultimate power play theory, and once you hear this, you will never look at the farm the same way again. The twist here is that Matt doesn't want the cash. He doesn't want Chris to write him a check next week. In fact, the worst-case scenario for Matt would be if Chris actually managed to scrape the money together and pay him back. Because if the debt is settled, Matt loses his leverage. And he needs that leverage right now more than ever because of a secret obstacle that is blocking his grandest ambition. That obstacle is Amy Roloff. You might be thinking, didn't Amy sell her share? Didn't she move off the farm? Yes, physically she moved. Yes, she sold a large portion of her stake. But what the show glosses over and what Matt is desperate to hide is that Amy still retains specific binding legal rights to the property, complex easements, access clauses, and veto powers that are tied to the land deeds themselves. We dug into the property records and legal theories surrounding high-asset divorces in Oregon, and it appears Amy didn't just walk away. She kept a foothold. There are strong indicators that Amy retains what is called a right of first refusal on future sales, and more importantly, easement rights that allow her access to certain parts of the farm for legacy purposes. This was likely a clause inserted to ensure she could always see the pumpkin patch she helped build, or perhaps to ensure the grandkids had unfettered access to their grandmother on the land, regardless of who owns it. For a control freak like Matt, these lingering rights are like poison. They mean he doesn't truly own the farm. He owns the dirt, but he doesn't own the total authority over it. As long as Amy has a legal right to step foot on that property without his permission, or to block a commercial development that interferes with her easement, Matt is handcuffed. This is where the glamping project connects to the master plan. Matt knows he can't just sue Amy for these rights. They are ironclad. They were part of a settlement he agreed to. If he tries to take her to court to strip her of these rights, he looks like a monster, and he likely loses. Judges don't like overturning divorce settlements just because one party changed their mind. So he can't use the law to get what he wants. He has to use coercion. He has to create a situation so unbearable, so financially devastating for her new husband, that Amy will voluntarily surrender her rights just to make the pain stop. This is a hostage situation, but instead of a person, Matt is holding Chris's financial future hostage. Let's look at the timeline. Matt starts talking about selling the big house or turning the farm into a full rental property around the same time he approves this loan to Chris. Why? Because no serious developer or high-end buyer wants to purchase a property that has a legacy easement attached to it. Imagine trying to sell a multi-million-dollar estate, but you have to tell the buyer, "Oh, by the way, my ex-wife is allowed to walk through the backyard whenever she wants because of a clause from 2019. It devalues the property. It scares off investors. Matt wants to liquidate or transform the farm into something entirely new. Maybe a massive commercial subdivision, maybe a resort that has nothing to do with pumpkins. But he can't do that while Amy still has her claws in the legal paperwork. He needs a clean title, and the only person who can give him a clean title is Amy. So he constructs the trap. He encourages Chris to build. He watches the project fail. He lends the money, and now he has the leverage. The theory is that Matt is currently preparing a new contract. This isn't a repayment plan for the $250,000. It is a settlement and release agreement. The terms will likely be simple. Matt will forgive the entire debt. He will wipe the slate clean. Chris will walk away owing $0. But in exchange, Amy must sign an addendum to their divorce decree. She must sign a quitclaim deed that relinquishes every single remaining right she has to Roloff Farms. No more access. No more say in how the land is used. No more rights to host charity events. She effectively has to erase herself from the history of the land completely. This puts Amy in an impossible position, and that is exactly where Matt wants her. He is weaponizing her love for Chris against her love for the farm. He knows Amy is proud. He knows she views that land as her blood, sweat, and tears. Giving up her final rights would feel like admitting defeat. It would feel like Matt finally won the war that started 10 years ago. But if she refuses, if she holds on to her rights, then Matt crushes Chris. He calls in the loan. He seizes assets. He drags Chris through a public legal battle that would humiliate him and possibly bankrupt him. Matt is betting that Amy loves her husband more than she loves a piece of paper that says she can visit the farm. Insider reports from the production crew support this theory. They have mentioned hearing Matt discuss consolidation and cleaning up the deeds with his personal attorney on days when filming wasn't scheduled. There have been whispers that Matt is frustrated because he has a potential buyer for a large parcel of the land, a commercial developer looking to expand the Helvetia residential zone. But the deal is stalled because of encumbrances on the title. Those encumbrances are Amy. She is the blockage in Matt's pipeline to a massive payday. And since he can't bulldoze her, he decided to bulldoze her husband instead. Think about the psychological warfare at play here. Matt and Karen have been pushing this narrative of moving on and peace. By offering to forgive the debt, Matt gets to look like the hero again. He can say to the cameras, "I just want to help them. I'm willing to lose $250,000 just to help Chris and Amy move forward." It spins the narrative perfectly. He looks generous, while secretly he is extracting the one thing money couldn't buy. He is trading a tax-deductible loss for total sovereignty over the empire. It is a brilliant, ruthless move. It is the kind of move that a corporate raider makes, not a grandfather. Furthermore, we have to consider the role of the wedding barn. One of the specific rights Amy allegedly fought for was the ability to use the property for family weddings and specific charity galas. This keeps her relevant in the community. It keeps her brand tied to the farm. If Matt forces her to sign these rights away, he effectively evicts her brand. He becomes the sole face of Roloff Farms. There will be no more Amy's Roloff kitchen events on the property. It will be 100% Matt's show. This isn't just about land, it is about legacy and branding. Matt wants to rewrite history so that in 20 years, people forget Amy was ever a co-owner. He wants the Roloff Farm legacy to be the Matt Roloff legacy. The leaked information about the zoning issues with Chris's glamping project adds another layer of malice to this twist. If Matt knew the zoning would fail, he essentially manufactured a crisis to force this trade. He created a problem that only he could solve, and the price of the solution is Amy's capitulation. It is a classic extortion tactic, wrapped in the guise of family business. And Chris is just the pawn. Matt probably likes Chris. He probably enjoys hanging out with him. But in Matt's world, business comes first. And if destroying his buddy's credit score is what it takes to get Amy to sign that quitclaim deed, then Chris is collateral damage. This theory also explains the weird dynamic we've seen lately where Matt is overly nice to Amy one minute and cold the next. He is testing the waters. He is waiting for the pressure on Chris to reach a boiling point. He needs Chris to be the one to go to Amy and beg. He needs Chris to say, "Amy, please, I can't pay this. You have to help me. Just sign the papers." That way, Matt keeps his hands clean. He doesn't have to demand anything from Amy directly. He lets the debt do the talking. He lets the marital stress between Amy and Chris do the heavy lifting. He turns Amy's husband into his agent of coercion. And what about the kids? Zach and Jeremy have been distanced from the farm for a while now, but if they knew their father was orchestrating a financial hit on their mother's new husband to steal her rights, it would destroy whatever fragile piece is left in the family. This is why the secrecy is so tight. This is why the producers were freaking out when the fight happened. If this narrative gets out, that Matt is blackmailing Amy via Chris, it turns the show from a family drama into a dark tragedy. It exposes the rot at the center of the Roloff dynamic. The twist is not that there is a debt. The twist is that the debt is a key that unlocks the final gate Matt has been banging on for years. He has tried buying her out. He has tried negotiating. He has tried mediation. None of it got him 100% control. Amy always kept a peace. Now, he has found the one weakness she didn't protect: her husband's ambition and his financial vulnerability. Matt saw the opening and he struck. And now, as we move toward the climax of this situation, the question isn't whether Chris can pay the money. The question is, how much of her soul is Amy willing to sell to save him? This brings us to the climax of this entire sordid affair, a moment that insiders are calling the Friday Night Massacre. According to sources close to the family, a meeting took place recently that wasn't on the official filming schedule. There were no cameras, no lighting crews, and no producers to intervene. It was just Matt, his high-powered legal team, a visibly shaken Chris, and a defiant Amy. This is where the trap that had been set months ago was finally sprung. Matt didn't mince words. He didn't offer a payment plan for the $250,000 debt. He didn't offer an extension. He slid a folder across the table. Inside that folder wasn't a lawsuit. It was a termination of rights agreement. And this is the ultimatum that has the entire family holding its breath. Matt's offer is brutally simple and absolutely devastating. He is willing to make Chris's $250,000 debt vanish into thin air. He will absorb the loss, pay off the subcontractors, and silence the creditors. He will save Chris from bankruptcy and save Amy from the humiliation of her husband's public financial failure. But the cost is Amy's total and complete surrender. The contract in that folder demands that Amy sign away every single remaining legal claim she has to Roloff Farms. We are talking about the irrevocable termination of her easement rights. We are talking about a clause that forbids her from hosting any future charity events on the land. We are talking about a ban on her using the property for commercial photography or social media promotion. Matt is essentially telling her that if she wants to save her husband, she has to agree to never set foot on the farm as an owner or a stakeholder ever again. She has to become a stranger to the land she helped build for 30 years. This is the genius of Matt's cruelty. He isn't forcing Amy to pay with money. He is forcing her to pay with her identity. He knows that the farm is Amy's fourth child. He knows she clings to those easement rights not because she wants to farm, but because she wants to belong. She wants to know that she still has a place in the legacy. By demanding she sign a quitclaim deed in exchange for Chris's financial freedom, Matt is forcing her to choose between her past and her future. If she refuses to sign, Matt pulls the trigger on the debt. He sues Chris. He lends their personal assets. He drags their name through the mud in court, exposing every embarrassing detail of the failed glamping project. He ruins the peace of their retirement. But if she signs, if she picks up that pen to save Chris, then Matt wins everything. He gets the clean title he has been chasing for a decade. With Amy's rights extinguished, the property value skyrockets. He can sell the farm to a commercial developer for millions more than it is currently worth because there are no messy ex-wife attachments. He can bulldoze the castle. He can tear down the big house. He can turn the pumpkin patch into a parking lot, and Amy won't be able to say a single word to stop him. He is asking her to sell her silence. He is asking her to sell her memories. The tension in that room must have been suffocating. Imagine being Chris in that moment. You are the reason your wife is being blackmailed. You are the weak link. Matt used your ambition and your failure to put a gun to Amy's head. The guilt Chris must be feeling is monumental. And imagine Amy. She is looking at the man she once loved, the father of her children, and realizing that he plotted this whole thing. He let the loan happen. He let the project fail. He waited for the debt to mature just so he could have this leverage. It creates a resentment that goes beyond typical divorce drama. This is a betrayal of the fundamental trust that they were supposed to have as co-grandparents. We are hearing reports that Amy stormed out of that meeting, but she didn't say no. She can't say no. The financial reality is too grim. If Matt calls in that loan, it cripples them. They might have to sell their new house to pay him back. They might have to liquidate their retirement accounts. Matt has them in a checkmate position. He knows it, and worst of all, he is enjoying it. He is framing this as a business transaction, telling anyone who will listen that he is just trying to simplify the estate for the sake of the kids. He claims that having Amy attached to the land confuses the inheritance and complicates the taxes. He is gaslighting the entire family into thinking he is doing them a favor by stripping Amy of her rights. So, what happens next? We are currently in the eye of the storm. The deadline for the ultimatum is reportedly approaching fast. If Amy signs, we will likely see a sudden, quiet announcement that Matt has taken full ownership of the farm's remaining parcels. You will notice Amy stops posting about the farm entirely. You will notice the charity galas move to a hotel ballroom instead of the barn. And shortly after that, watch for the for sale sign to go up on the big property. Matt will cash out, take his millions, and move to Arizona full-time with Karen, leaving the Roloff legacy in the rearview mirror. He will have successfully erased Amy from the empire she helped create. But if she fights, if she calls his bluff, we are looking at the most explosive legal battle in reality TV history. It will be War of the Roses, played out in real time. Amy could countersue, claiming predatory lending and fraud. She could argue that Matt intentionally sabotaged the glamping project to create this leverage. It would tear the family apart. The kids, Zach, Jeremy, Molly, Jacob, would be forced to pick sides in a way they never have before. It would likely be the end of the show. TLC loves drama, but they don't love 3-year court battles that expose the dark, manipulative underbelly of their stars. This situation forces us to look at Matt Roloff, not as the quirky, ambitious farmer we saw in Season 1, but as a ruthless corporate strategist who views his family members as chess pieces. He sacrificed his relationship with his sons for the farm, and now he is willing to sacrifice his relationship with his ex-wife for the title deed. It is a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions. He is gaining the world but losing his soul. He gets the land, but he dies alone in a house that no one wants to visit. And consider the fallout for Amy and Chris's marriage. Even if they survive the financial hit, can the relationship survive the resentment? Every time Amy looks at Chris, she will remember that his mistake cost her the farm. Every time Chris looks at Amy, he will see the sacrifice she made and feel the weight of his own inadequacy. Matt has planted a poison pill in their marriage that will dissolve it from the inside out. That might be the cruelest part of all. He isn't just taking the land, he is sabotaging her happiness. He is proving that as long as he is alive, he controls her fate. The footage of that fight behind the barns, the screaming match where producers had to step in, was just the tip of the iceberg. That was the emotional reaction to a cold, calculated plan. Matt Roloff has played the long game, and he has played it perfectly. He has turned a construction debt into the ultimate weapon. He has cornered Amy in a way that no lawyer ever could. Now, I need to hear from you. We have laid out the evidence. We have connected the dots between the failed construction, the shady contractor, the massive debt, and the secret easement clauses. The picture is clear, but the verdict is up to you. Is Matt Roloff an evil genius who is simply making a brilliant business move to secure his assets? Is this just business, and should Amy have been smarter? Or has Matt crossed a line that can never be uncrossed? Is this the act of a bitter ex-husband who cannot stand to see his wife happy and independent? I want you to go to the comment section right now and drop your theory. Tell me, if you were Amy, would you sign the papers to save your husband? Or would you let Matt sue you and fight him in court to keep your legacy? This is the impossible choice. This is the ultimate blackmail. And as we wait for the news of the final decision to break, remember that you heard the real story here first. We will be tracking the property records daily to see if that quitclaim deed gets filed. We will be watching the court dockets for the lawsuit. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss the update when the hammer finally drops. This story is far from over, and the ending is going to be something no one saw coming. Like this video if you think Amy deserves better, and share this with every Little People Big World fan you know, because the truth needs to be exposed. Matt Roloff might control the farm, but he doesn't control the narrative. We do. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. The fallout is just beginning.